Positive psychology arose from the late 90s, thanks to the then president of the APA, Martin Seligman. In contrast with previous branches of psychology, which had been focused on mental illness for the most part, positive psychology, being part of the humanistic movement, began to shift focus and, instead of treating just illness, began to provide effective interventions to aid in achievement. In other words, the main goal of positive psychology is to help the person step away from pathological thoughts that may arise in a hopeless mindset, and to instead maintain a sense of optimism that allows for people to understand what makes life worth living. The origins of positive psychology, however, are much earlier. In the middle of the 20th century, scientists began to realize the severe limitations of psychoanalysis and behaviorism. They began to notice that there was something else to human behavior than met the eye. They realized that humans are much more than just a big collection of responses to stimuli. Rather, there is an inherent desire that drives us towards self-actualization. Abraham Maslow actually coined the term positive psychology. He is the one that developed the theory on the hierarchy of needs and motivations, which states that people need to have basic needs met before they can achieve higher levels of needs, such as fulfillment. Basically, the main human drive is to live a fulfilled life. Everything else we do, or don't do for that matter, is in pursuit of that purpose. It's actually a bit of a radical change in perspective in many ways. You see, instead of looking at people as just bags full of problems, positive psychology seeks to encourage a healthy development of people in a more holistic way. There's a variety of research that's out there that is attributed to those who follow the ways of positive psychology. For example, some research suggests that happiness increases with age, except for the ages between 40 and 50 years old. Many people call this a midlife crisis. Happiness, for example, increases up until around 40. Then there is a sharp decline. Then, it begins to increase again after 50. In another piece of research, there is some suggestion that women's happiness has been decreasing over the recent decades. Therefore, men report being happier than women overall. In another study, there is evidence to suggest that positive emotions are associated with greater resistance to colds and flu. Finally, we also have some evidence that shows that money only buys happiness to a certain point. Basically, money affects your happiness up until around $75,000 per year. After that, the sensation of happiness seems to decrease. Funny enough, on the other hand, there is evidence that suggests that volunteering your time and hanging out with your friends actually makes you happier than money in the long run. There are a few techniques that help us analyze these different results. One of them is the Character, Strengths, and Virtues Handbook, which helps identify positive traits of a client, for example, and allow the therapist to work within these to help the client achieve the most fulfillment, therefore increasing his or her happiness overall. So, what's my point? There's something that makes human beings unique. From our beginnings, we have always been fascinated by our innermost being. We have clear evidence from our earliest civilizations that they were already asking the same questions that we are today. Why are we here? Why do we do what we do? And what's our purpose? Positive psychology is so ingrained in us that its applications span the entirety of human interaction. In the workplace, for rehab, for youth development, for life coaching, you name it. I would hope that as research continues to emerge and we learn new things about the human mind, that we end up finding that our real purpose is to reach our own greatest potential, and on the way, help others achieve the same.